You ever notice how trouble finds you even when you're just minding your business? Picture this, a black man, well-dressed, cool as ice, just fueling up his car at a gas station. No drama, no noise, nothing suspicious. But of course, that's when the flashing lights pull up. A white cop steps out like he's in some action movie, hand on his belt, chest puffed up like he owns the whole block. And you can feel it already. This isn't gonna be a friendly hello. The officer stomps over, looks him up and down and says, "What are you doing here?" Now, pause. Since when do you need a permission slip to pump gas? But the tone, the glare, the assumption, oh, it says everything. It says, "I don't see a man, I see a threat." And the man, let's call him Marcus, keeps his voice calm. He says, "Same thing you're doing, officer, existing." A little humor, right? But you know how fragile egos can't take a joke. The cop leans in closer, practically sniffing for a reason. "License and registration. Step away from the pump." Marcus raises an eyebrow. For what reason? And right there, the tension thickens, the air shifts. You can feel it in your stomach, that drop before the roller coaster falls, because Marcus knows his rights. But he also knows what happens to people who know too much in the wrong skin. Here's the kicker. The audience doesn't know yet, but Marcus isn't just some guy. He's an undercover FBI agent. That badge tucked inside his jacket? It could flip this whole script upside down. But right now, he lets the officer cook. Why? Because he's seen this play before. Because sometimes you let people dig their own grave before you hand them the shovel. So Marcus slowly hands over his ID, calm as ever, eyes steady. The cop snatches it like he's confiscating stolen property. He doesn't read it, doesn't check it. No, he just keeps staring at Marcus, daring him to breathe wrong. And the quid Estienne that hangs heavy? How far will this go before the truth slices through the tension? Ever wonder how fast arrogance turns into regret? Oh, you're about to find out. The officer flips the ID in his hand like it's some poker chip, not even glancing at the words. You ever notice how people sometimes don't want the truth, they just want their version of it? That's exactly what's happening here. He smirks and says, "This doesn't look like you. You sure this is yours?" Now pause. Marcus is standing right there, same face, same name, same everything. But suddenly, it's unbelievable. Why? Because in that cop's eyes, a black man with nice clothes and a luxury car is automatically suspicious. Marcus chuckles under his breath. "You really going to play this game?" The cop bristles. "What game?" Marcus leans in just slightly, cool but sharp. "The one where you pretend I don't belong here while you ignore the obvious." That line? It lands heavy. But instead of backing off, the cop doubles down. He puts a hand on his holster, classic intimidation. And here's the thing. You feel that tension crawl up your spine, right? Because everyone watching knows what could happen next. One wrong move, one wrong tone, and suddenly this gas station becomes a crime scene. Marcus knows it too. That's why he keeps his voice steady, calm, controlled. But that calm? It's the kind that hides fire underneath. The cop suddenly asks, "Where you headed? Late night, dressed up, you selling something? Or maybe buying?" That's the insult. That's the racism wrapped in suspicion. Marcus tilts his head, laughs softly, and says, "You got quite the imagination. You ever try stand-up comedy?" Boom! A pattern interrupt. For a second, the officer blinks, caught off guard. That's the thing about humor. It cuts through fear like a knife, but the cop doesn't laugh. "Oh no," he sneers. "Step out of the vehicle." Now the air gets thicker. You can almost hear the heartbeat of every person watching. Step out for what? For existing while black? For daring to smile? Marcus takes a deep breath, as if weighing his options. He could end this whole charade in 2 seconds by flashing the badge. But no. He decides to let this officer's own arrogance cook him alive. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't proving someone wrong, it's letting them walk right into their own trap. And trust me, this trap, it's already snapping shut. Marcus steps out slowly, hands visible, voice calm. You ever notice how black men have to perform safety like it's a routine? Hands high, voice low, no sudden movements, like survival choreography. He stands tall, though, unshaken. The cop circles him like a shark, looking for blood in water that isn't there. Spread your legs, hands on the car. Marcus sighs softly. You sure you want to do this? The cop smirks. Oh, I've never been more sure. Now imagine that. A man so drunk on power he can't even see the storm clouds forming right above his head. Marcus, steady as a rock, places his hands on the car. But in his mind, he's not helpless. Oh no. He's counting seconds. Counting how much rope this officer is giving himself to hang with. The cop pats him down roughly, muttering, Bet you've got something on you. Drugs. Maybe a weapon. Marcus chuckles under his breath. Only weapon here is your ego. And that line? Oh, it stings. The officer freezes, then shoves harder, trying to reassert control. But you can feel the shift. Marcus isn't scared. He's entertained. Because this isn't just harassment, it's evidence. And evidence? Well, Marcus knows how to use it. By now, a small crowd has formed, a couple people with phones out recording from a distance. That's when the real tension kicks in. The cop notices, but instead of backing down, he puffs up even more. You all filming? Good. You're about to see justice served. And isn't that ironic? Because justice is exactly what's about to be delivered, but not the way he thinks. Marcus tilts his head, odd eyes sharp. Justice, huh? You sure you know what that word means? The crowd murmurs, sensing something's off. The cop snaps, quiet, but you can tell his control is slipping. That's the funny thing about arrogance. It looks strong, but it cracks quick under pressure. Marcus finally asks, low and deliberate, You really want to keep pushing this? The cop snarls, I'll push as far as I want. And in that instant, the trap is almost sprung. The officer doesn't know it yet, but he's standing on the edge of a cliff. One more shove, one more insult, and gravity's about to take over. Because Marcus isn't just a man at a gas station. He's the hammer. And this cop? He's the nail that never saw it coming. The crowd gets louder now. Phones up. Whispers spreading like wildfire. People know when something isn't right. You ever notice how silence becomes its own kind of witness? That's what's happening. The officer is sweating, but pride won't let him stop. He snaps, Empty your pockets. Marcus smiles faintly. You really want to see what's in my pocket? The cop growls, Don't get smart with me. But here's the thing. Marcus isn't getting smart. He is smart. Smarter than this cop could ever imagine. Marcus pulls out his wallet, slow and steady, holding it up like a stage magician about to reveal the final trick. He flips it open, and inside, oh, there it is. That golden badge, gleaming under the harsh fluorescent lights of the gas station. FBI. 3 letters that can crush careers and end games instantly. The crowd gasps, phones zoom in. And the cop? His face drains like someone pulled the plug on his arrogance. Surprise, Marcus says softly, eyes locked on the officer. You just laid hands on a federal agent. That line hits like a thunderclap. The crowd erupts. Some laugh, some cheer, some shout, Oh, you're done now. And the cop? He stumbles back, hands twitching like he doesn't know where to put them. This some kind of joke? He stammers. Marcus steps forward, calm but sharp as a blade. Do I look like I'm laughing? You wanted to play tough guy? Congratulations. Now you're starring in your own disciplinary hearing. Boom! That's the power shift. 1 second, predator. The next, prey. The cop tries to recover, sputtering, I didn't know. But Marcus cuts him off with a raised hand. Didn't know? Or didn't care? Because from the moment you pulled up, you weren't looking at me. You were looking at the color of my skin. That was your whole probable cause. The crowd shouts agreement. That's right! Tell him! The officer looks around, cornered by truth and technology. Marcus leans in close, voice low but every syllable sharp. You think you're the law, but tonight you just broke it. The silence after that? Heavy, electric, unforgettable. The crowd holds its breath, waiting for the next move. And the cop? He's learning the hard way that regret doesn't come slow, it comes like a freight train. The officer's eyes dart left and right, desperate for backup, but the crowd isn't with him. They're against him, phones pointed, voices rising, every second recorded for the world to see. You ever notice how power feels real strong until someone stronger shows up? That's exactly what's written all over his face. Marcus stays cool, voice steady. What's your name, officer? The man swallows hard. Officer Daniels. Marcus smirks. Good. Because when internal affairs comes knocking, I want to make sure they spell it right. The crowd laughs, some even clapping. Daniels's cheeks burn red, but pride still won't let him bow out gracefully. He snaps. You can't just... Marcus interrupts, sharp and smooth. Can't just what? Exist? Drive a nice car? Pump gas without a flashlight shoved in my face? Tell me, Officer Daniels, which part of the Constitution says I need your permission slip to breathe? That line? Oh, it lands heavy. The crowd cheers, people nodding, murmuring, facts. Daniel stumbles over his words, trying to find footing in a fig. Thought he already lost, but arrogance won't let him quit. He blurts out, well, you didn't look like an agent. Marcus raises an eyebrow. And what does an agent look like to you? Blue eyes, blonde hair, a face that looks like yours? Boom. Silence. Deadly silence. Because now it's not just a clash, it's a mirror held up to racism itself. Daniels opens his mouth, then shuts it again, caught with no good answer. Marcus presses on, voice razor sharp. See, you judged me before I even spoke. And tonight, that judgment just ended your career. The crowd gasps, harsh but true. Daniels backs up, hands trembling, muttering, Look, I was just doing my job. Marcus shakes his head slowly. Your job? Your job is to protect, not profile, to serve, not harass. But you forgot that the badge doesn't make you bigger, it makes you accountable. The weight of those words hangs in the air like a hammer about to drop. Daniels looks smaller now, like all the authority drained right out of him. The crowd smells the weakness. Someone yells, yeah, hold him accountable. Another shouts, we saw everything. And that's when Daniels realizes this isn't just one man calling him out. It's the whole community. And the one thing louder than sirens? Truth shouted by people who won't stay silent anymore. Daniels finally takes a step back, breathing fast, chest heaving, ego bruised beyond repair. You ever notice how quickly someone who thought they were untouchable can crumble? That's exactly what's happening. Marcus stays calm, voice smooth but sharp like a surgeon cutting through pretense. Step away from me, he says softly, almost conversational, but you can feel the authority behind it, or I'll make sure this is documented properly. The cop hesitates. He knows he's trapped. Phones everywhere, crowd staring, every word he says already recorded. This isn't just embarrassment. It's evidence, legal way. It's social exposure. And Marcus? He's not even raising his voice, just letting reality sink in. You thought you could intimidate me because of my skin, my style, my presence. You thought arrogance could replace accountability. Spoiler alert, it can't. Daniel sputters. I didn't mean... Marcus raises a hand, cutting him off again. Didn't mean what? To profile? To threaten? To be a living example of bias in action? Because that's exactly what you did. The officer swallows, eyes darting, voice trembling. It's almost pitiful. You ever see someone face the mirror of their worst behavior and wish they could disappear? Yeah, that's Daniels right now. Marcus steps closer, not threatening, just confident, letting the moral weight of his words hit like bricks. This badge doesn't make you untouchable. This uniform doesn't excuse your actions. And the law? Oh, it's coming for you. Don't test it. He tilts his head, smirk small but controlled. Funny thing about power, when you misuse it, it turns into chains. The crowd murmurs agreement. whispers spreading like wildfire. Phones are buzzing, live streams rolling, comments going viral in real time. Every witness now a part of history. Daniels realizes the game is over. The arrogance, the sense of superiority, it evaporates in seconds. And the regret? Oh, it's instant. Marcus doesn't gloat. He simply lets the silence speak, lets the officer stew in the realization that what he assumed was control was never his to take. You can feel the tension melt, replaced by a strange, almost cinematic justice. Because sometimes the loudest statement isn't anger, it's calm, undeniable truth. And the question hanging in the air: what lesson does it take for someone to finally understand that skin color, uniforms, and assumptions don't grant moral immunity? Daniels finally straightens, voice shaking, trying to regain authority, but it's gone. You ever notice how fragile confidence built on prejudice really is? One mirror, one revelation, and it shatters. Marcus leans in, calm, almost casual, and says, "You realize, this isn't personal. This is about accountability, about seeing someone as a person before assuming they're a threat." Daniels gulps. I was just following procedure." Marcus chuckles lightly, voice dripping with irony. "Procedure? Or bias wrapped in a badge? Because from where I'm standing, that's exactly what I witnessed." The crowd, still watching, murmurs. You can feel their eyes like 1,000 invisible spotlights, focused, waiting. Someone shouts, "Tell him!" Another laughs, "Finally!" And Daniels shifts, realizing this isn't just him and Marcus anymore. It's the world watching, judgment waiting to land. The tension? Oh, it's palpable. That mix of fear, shame, and adrenaline, like a storm ready to break. Marcus tilts his head, voice steady, cutting through the chaos. "Look, you can try to justify your actions. You can try to hide behind your ego, but what's done is done. And the proof, right here." He gestures subtly, letting the phones and the witnesses speak for him. The officer swallows, lips pressed tight, no words left. Because evidence doesn't need an explanation, it demands attention. Then Marcus softens just slightly, voice almost conversational. "I could escalate this. I could call it in, write it up, make sure there's a record that follows you forever. But I'm giving you a chance." Daniel stumbles backward. "Chance? Why would you—" Marcus interrupts, smirk faint but sharp. "Because sometimes the best lesson is the one you learn without someone pulling you under. Consider this your warning. And here's the kicker. You feel that shift, right? The power flip. The predator-turned lesson giver. The crowd senses it too. Phones are still rolling, people whispering, recording history in real time. Marcus turns slowly, voice calm but firm. "Remember this. Arrogance only works as long as you're unchallenged. Once reality shows up, regret comes fast." Daniels, shoulders slump, pride crushed, eyes downcast. The moment hangs, heavy with consequence. Marcus doesn't shout, doesn't gloat. He just walks back to his car, smooth, collected, letting the lesson sink deep. And the crowd? They cheer quietly, knowing they witnessed more than confrontation. They witnessed accountability in action. Marcus slides back into his car like nothing happened, calm, collected, a man who's seen the storm and walked through it unshaken. You ever notice how some people think fear and intimidation can control a room? Well, not today. Today, the lesson's been taught without a single raised voice, just clarity, presence, and undeniable truth. The cop, Daniels, still standing there, looks smaller than the crowd around him. Every whisper, every phone recording, every gaze, it's all a reminder that arrogance has limits. The crowd begins to disperse slowly, murmuring among themselves. Some people shake their heads, muttering, "Unbelievable." Others chuckle nervously, relief mixed with awe. And Daniels? He's frozen, replaying every moment in his head like a nightmare on loop. You know the kind, the one where you see yourself failing over and over, but can't hit pause. That's him. Marcus leans back in his seat, speaking quietly, more to himself than anyone else. Power is a test, and how you wield it. That's the real measurement. You can almost feel it echo in the empty spaces of the gas station. A life lesson delivered, sharp, unflinching, and unforgettable. The officer tries to make a move, some semblance of authority, but it's empty, hollow, meaningless. Marcus finally starts the engine, and you can hear the subtle shift in the atmosphere. Phones still pointed, cameras rolling, but the lesson is clear. Actions have consequences, and assumptions, especially those based on race, can unravel fast when faced with truth. Daniels swallows hard, realizing that all the swagger, all the bravado, all the so-called control, gone, vanished in a heartbeat. And as Marcus pulls away, calm, collected, almost invisible, he leaves behind more than just a shaken officer. He leaves accountability, awareness. A story that spreads like wildfire because moments like this, they don't stay private. They travel, recorded and replayed, lessons etched in memory. The officer watches, helpless, stomach sinking, mind racing. How did he go from confident enforcer to embarrassed, exposed, regretful man in just a few minutes? And the truth? That question haunts him, gnaws at him, and there's no escaping it. Because some lessons once learned are permanent. And Marcus? He drives off, quiet but victorious, leaving the echo of justice lingering in the air, subtle but unforgettable. Daniel stands there, hands trembling slightly, replaying every word, every gesture, every detail. You ever notice how humiliation is fastest when it's paired with undeniable truth? That's exactly what he's feeling. The crowd has mostly left, but the recordings, the witnesses, the memory, they all remain. And suddenly, the weight of accountability hits him harder than any reprimand could. Marcus isn't shouting, he isn't gloating, he's driving away like the storm passed through and left clarity in its wake. And Daniels, he's left with the echoes of his own mistakes bouncing off the walls, reminding him that authority doesn't erase prejudice. That badge didn't protect him, it highlighted his errors. And you can almost see him asking himself the questions that sting the most. Why did I assume? Why did I escalate? Why did I let fear masquerade as power? He looks around the gas station, abandoned and quiet now, and realizes the irony. The place that once seemed mundane, safe, normal, suddenly turned into a courtroom of conscience. Every action, every word he uttered, recorded and judged by eyes that saw beyond uniforms. And the lesson? Some things can't be ignored. Some truths can't be rewritten. Daniels finally exhales slowly, chest heavy. He realizes that Orage doesn't always roar. It can also walk away unshaken, leaving a trail of accountability in its path. Marcus didn't need to raise his voice or force him down. The power of integrity, of calm, of rightness. It spoke louder than any badge could, and you can almost feel Daniel's fear twisting into regret. The kind that wakes you up at 2 a.m., the kind that lingers every time you look in a mirror. And Marcus? He's just a man. But today he became a symbol. A reminder that assumptions, racism, and abuse of power always have consequences. You can try to intimidate, to stereotype, to assert control. But when faced with calm, intelligence, and the law itself, arrogance falls flat. So what do we learn here? That justice sometimes wears a quiet face. That courage doesn't always shout. And that some people, like Daniels, will never forget the moment they realized the world sees more than they ever imagined. Because the lesson isn't just for him, it's for anyone thinking power can replace accountability. And so Marcus drives away, calm, composed, leaving a stunned officer and a crowd that witnessed more than a confrontation. They witnessed justice served in its purest form. You ever notice how the strongest moments aren't loud explosions but subtle, undeniable truths? That's exactly what just happened. Daniels is left standing there, ego shattered, mind racing, replaying every word, every gesture, realizing that one moment of arrogance can change everything. He thought power was in the badge, in authority, in intimidation, but Marcus proved that real power is in composure, knowledge, and integrity. You can intimidate someone temporarily, but you can't control truth. And Marcus, he didn't just protect himself, he sent a message to anyone watching, anyone thinking assumptions and bias are harmless. They aren't. Every action has consequences, every prejudice has a mirror. The crowd begins to disperse slowly, murmuring, phones still rolling, whispers carrying lessons. Some shake their heads in disbelief, others smile quietly, knowing they just witnessed a rare moment where outrage and intelligence overcame fear and bias. And Daniels, he won't forget. No, he'll carry this lesson like a shadow, the kind that reminds you of your mistakes even years later, the kind that forces reflection and accountability. Marcus reaches the exit of the gas station, glances back once, and in that look, there's no gloating, only calm assurance. He knows he did what had to be done. No yelling, no violence, just truth standing tall against arrogance. And that's the kind of power that resonates far beyond one encounter. The kind that teaches, that inspires, that changes perspectives. And for anyone watching this story, here's the takeaway. Never underestimate the strength of calm, knowledge, and integrity. Sometimes the most unforgettable justice comes quietly, subtly, but leaves an impact that lasts a lifetime. And maybe, just maybe, it reminds each of us to check our assumptions before we act. Because no badge, no title, no authority grants immunity from accountability. If this story gave you chills, made you think, or reminded you why justice matters, don't just let it pass. Hit that subscribe button. Stay tuned for more stories that shock, inspire, and remind us all what courage really looks like. Because the world needs witnesses and you can be one.